throughout the years, we have been able to uncover the truth about our world. We know the Masons are the hidden hand behind the scenes, pulling the strings of our world leaders. We have learned that at least 15 presidents have been confirmed Freemasons, but I believe all US presidents are Freemasons or are at least associated with it. Our first official US president, George Washington, was a Freemason himself. Just think about how important that truly is. The first man elected as the official US president was a member of the Freemasons. It's also important to note that all but one of the US presidents are related, a part of the same bloodline that connects them to King John Lackland, who is a part of the royal family. This means that the leaders of this country are connected to the leaders of England. Not surprising at all, the royal family is Masonic as well, and to this day they play an important role in Masonry. It's all one big bloodline connecting all our world leaders. Also, the US founding fathers Ben Franklin, Paul Revere, John Hancock, and John Marshall were all Freemasons as well. America itself was created by the Freemasons. They even nicknamed it after the Masonic Creole, calling the US the land of the free, which really represents the land of the free and accepted Masons. If you look at the back of the dollar bill, not only does it say a new order of the ages in Latin, but this is also under the Masonic all-seeing eye, the main symbol of Masonry, which represents the light of Lucifer. The Freemasons also took over the country of France, even causing the collapse of their government when it was discovered that a Masonic lodge called P2, or Propaganda Duo, was in control of the country back in the 1980s. Even the mob was associated with this Masonic lodge, as the movie The Godfather 3 was written about the story of the P2 lodge. I am not going to go fully into that in this video because it's a long story, but if you guys want to see a video on the P2 lodge in France, comment France below. For those who think that Masonry is just a club for old men to socialize with no power, how do you explain any of that? We must follow the power trail to see where it leads us, and you will see that it always leads us to the Freemasons. Now that we have disproven the lies about Masonry being innocent and harmless, we must talk about what they truly worship. Do the Masons worship God like they claim, or do they worship the devil like they are accused of? In order to answer that, we must first understand what is the purpose of Masonry. The Freemasons are men who are chasing enlightenment to be as gods on earth. Through the teachings and rituals of Masonry, they believe a man can go from a mortal to a god by climbing the Masonic degree system. Each degree reveals more Masonic knowledge, which has been kept secret from the world. The first
just about the Scottish Rite of Freemasonry. They've published the New Age magazine for nearly 100 years. When Paul Fisher wrote that book, Behind the Lodge Door, with almost 1,000 references, they changed the name. Now they call it New Age Journal or something like that. So, the New Age comes from Freemasonry. This is Albert Pike. Albert Pike wrote Morals and Dogma. Morals and Dogma is a very large treatise on pretty much the sacred mysteries of Freemasonry. He talks about Christianity in there, and he mixes it in with Osiris and Isis and the Eleusinian mysteries and just about every religion known to mankind. And this is Madame Blavatsky, whose Theosophical Society, the whole goal of the Theosophical Society was to create a unity among religions. In other words, water down Christianity, make it bland, make it simple, turn it into absolute nothingness, and then mingle it with all of the other religions. And of course, she was a Satanist, a Luciferian. And you know, what gets me is she says there is no religion higher than truth, right? And here's the serpent eating his tail. You see it? Nazi symbol on top. The serpent eating his tail was the symbol that Benjamin Franklin used. Benjamin Franklin has been considered the greatest proponent of colonial Freemasonry that we ever had. And one of Blavatsky's statements was, what is one to do when in order to rule men it is necessary to deceive them? Now, you can find these kinds of pictures in books on magic, books on witchcraft, and basically this is the god of Freemasonry. This is
rooted in occult magic and alchemy, forms of ancient witchcraft that have been forbidden by God. Yet the Masons want the world to believe they worship God. Just like in the days of the Knights Templar, the Masons are hiding to protect themselves as they don't want history to repeat itself. Back in the Middle Ages, they hid by calling themselves the Army of God. Now, they call themselves the Brotherhood of God, claiming God is who they truly serve, when we know it's still Baphomet to this day. If you don't want to take my word for it, you can hear it from the horse's mouth, as Albert Pike, one of the leaders of Freemasonry, has admitted this long ago. Albert Pike was a prominent leader in Freemasonry, as he was given the title of the Sovereign Grand Commander of the Supreme Council Scottish Rite Masonry. He was one of the few elect who knew the truth about Masonry, and he wrote all about it in his book called Morals and Dogma of the Ancient and Accepted Scottish Rite Freemasons. Albert Pike is one of the most influential Freemasons to ever live. His book is required to be read in order to become a 33rd degree Mason. He was known as an author, poet, lawyer, jurist, and even a Confederate States Army general. Albert is deeply connected to American history and Masonic history. This is why he was given a statue in 1901 in Washington, D.C., which was eventually partially demolished in 2020 during the George Floyd riots. Pike is definitely one of the most important names in Masonry. He took the craft into the new age. While he is important to Masonry, the Masons love to deny his importance. They try their best to belittle his importance and his contributions to modern Masonry. This is because Albert Pike openly revealed that the Masons truly worship Lucifer. I have found undeniable proof of this, coming directly from Albert Pike's very own book. Albert Pike confessed what I discovered years ago while researching Masonry, that Lucifer is truly the god of the lodge. Albert Pike even claims that Lucifer is the god of good, while God is the god of evil. Also, he states that Lucifer never fell from grace. Instead, he is the light of the world. This all goes back to what I explained at the beginning of this video. Masonry connects back to Adam and Eve with the serpent in the garden. The Masons are worshiping that serpent as it guided them to enlightenment. There are several times that Albert Pike admitted that not only was Masonry the study of Lucifer, but it was also the opposition of Christianity. He was quoted saying, "Strange and mysterious name to give the spirit of darkness. Lucifer, the son of the morning. Is it he who bears the light? And with his splendors, intolerable blinds feebles, sensual or selfish souls? Doubt it not." Many Freemasons say this quote reveals nothing and that it was misquoted. The thing is, if you know anything about my work, you would know that I already have plenty more proof to back up my claims. Like I already mentioned, Albert Pike was a leader in Masonry, and he actually wrote a letter to the 23 Supreme Councils of the world, where he stated this: "That which we must say to the crowd is that we worship a God, but it is the God one adores without superstition. To you, Sovereign Grand Inspector General, we say this. You may repeat this to the brethren of the 32nd, 31st, and 30th degrees. The Masonic religion should be by all of us initiates of the high degrees, maintaining the purity of the Luciferian doctrine. If Lucifer were not God, would Adonai, the God of the Christians, whose deeds prove cruelty, perfidy, and hatred of man, barbarism and repulsion for science. Would Adani and his priests calumniate him? Yes, Lucifer is God, and unfortunately, Adani is also God. For the eternal law is that there is no light without shade, no beauty without ugliness, no white without black, for the absolute can only exist as two gods, darkness being necessary for light to serve as his foil, as the pedestal is necessary to the statue, and the brake to the locomotive. Thus the doctrine of Satan is heresy, and the true and pure philosophical religion is the belief in Lucifer, the equal Adani. But Lucifer, God of light and God of good, is struggling for humanity against Adani, the God of darkness and evil. This is the very letter that many Masons try hard to ignore. This letter openly confesses Albert Pike's plans and what Masonry stands for. First, he revealed that the Masons not only worship Lucifer, but they think that he is the true God and that Jehovah is the God of evil. He clearly states that they deceive the masses by telling them they worship God, but never reveal which God it is. This perfectly explains why we see so many celebrities thanking God. Now you know exactly Lucifer to eat from the tree, as he promised her it would make her like a god, and Eve convinced Adam to do the same. Once they ate from the tree, they were now enlightened and were now as gods knowing good and evil. Masonry represents this very moment when man chooses to willingly disobey God and eat from the tree of knowledge, becoming their own god. Masonry is that forbidden knowledge of good and evil, and it's the reason why the Masons represent themselves with the Masonic checkerboard pattern that's found in every lodge.